I think that's part of it. I started the podcast, by the way. It'll just record and we can edit later if we have to.
Okay.
But I like this conversation, so I was like, I should just start it.
Yeah, me too.
I think that's like really normal. Like being new at something, I feel like it's actually really, there's that first moment where it's kind of hard, but then that you shoot and then you plateau. But with competing, yeah, it's like once, especially like when you become a black belt or a higher belt, or man, you're one of the owners of an Easton school now, you're a main instructor, like the pressure feels like it starts increasing, and it's self-imposed, right? But you want to do it for your students, you want to do it for all the reasons, and they're not bad reasons, but it does put more like when you're not when no one knows who you are, it's easy to go out there, win or lose. There's no pressure. It's like whatever. But as you have all your students that know you're going to compete, or the people you work with, and you feel like they're all watching you, and you're like, I got to do this for them. I think that starts adding this whole nother level, even if it's self-imposed, of pressure that's on you.
Yeah. Like even if at the end of the day, like win or lose, we're going out there for, to get the experience, to have whatever the goals are. I noticed that this season, like, so I went to Austin and I didn't feel any pressure. I was like, this is a younger division. I'm going to just try this. And then I got second in my division and first in open class, which was super cool. And then for Pans this year, I was so nervous. And I think it's everything you just described, like really just wanting to do well now, because the community feels larger, feels like there's more attention. But at the end of the day, like I'm competing with myself. And so I'm trying to, do something different or better than the last time, but it still feels like a lot.
That self-imposed is hard to remove. So
because you can know that and it's still hard.
Yeah. So we have Amy Fidelis here today, Easton BJJ Black Belt, a competitor. She's one of the main teachers at Easton Lowry, as well as a partner and an owner of that school, with her husband, Antonio Fidelis. And obviously there's a whole lot more about Amy. We started kind of just chatting, and I started because we're going to talk a lot about competition, I think, today as well, because Amy's been competing quite a bit. She's definitely one of our best competitors at Easton, and maybe competes one of the ones that competes the most. And also a female and as a black belt and as an owner. Like there's so much that we can learn from Amy, and I'm really excited to kind of dive in, and I have a lot of questions for her. So Amy, I'm going to fire these things off. I'm enjoying this approach so everybody can learn, and I'll shut up and let you talk, and I'll try to stay out of the way. So I already asked how you're doing today. We didn't put that on there, but let's jump right in. How did you find Easton?
I walked past it. So my dad trained judo, jiu-jitsu, Yawara, kung fu. Like he is a kind of a true martial artist, in my opinion. And my mom also trained. So I had been able to do some jiu-jitsu with him very infrequently. And then I always knew I needed it. And I was walking to work and I saw Easton on Broadway in Denver and gave it a shot. And yeah, that was 2008, I think.
Yeah, it was a year after me.
Oh, no kidding. Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay. That's cool. I didn't know that.
And I was in Boulder, but yeah, I think I stopped by the Denver Academy occasionally back then too. That's super cool. Yeah. That was George Anders was running it, right? Or Busy, one of the two.
Busy. It was Busy.
So Busy had already taken over.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So that's how we found Easton. Tell me about this. I'm jumping right into this one. Yeah. Anybody that trains at Easton like knows you and Junior is like as a unit. At least I see it that way, right?
Yeah.
Two peas in a pod. Just like you compete together, you coach each other. You have competitions. You have a school together. You've been part of the Easton Denver community for a very long time, teaching. Salt of the earth kind of people. I think so. Just. I'm taking you all met here. And I guess this is kind of a broad question, so answer it however you want. Tell us about you and Junior. Like, tell us about their relationship, right? You're fully enmeshed in each other's lives, and not a lot of ways that others, I think, are or would be successful doing,
Well, our anniversary was this month and we both forgot it. So that tells you. And then neither of us cared and we moved on. I think it was 14 years married this this month. So yeah, we've been a little busy. So I came to Easton, I tried a jujitsu class, and my partner was wonderful, but it was just a lot. And considering like how I had been brought up, I thought like, oh, I'll take to this. It'll be great. I'll love it. And instead I did not love it at all. And so I went, but my class partner encouraged me to do Muay Thai. So I did that for a year. Junior was an instructor at Denver, and he said, come back to jujitsu, try jujitsu. And so I did. And then at some point, we went out salsa dancing. He will tell a different version, so I'm telling my version. My version is we went out salsa dancing, and he was just lovely, and we hit it off, and then started dating, and about 10 months later, came back to the academy, and we're like, hey, surprise, we're getting married in 2 weeks. So yeah, that's
so I'm going to pause right there. I don't know if we're going to cut this part or not, right?
Yeah.
Because, but I want to be honest and transparent here. Like, this happens, right? Like relationships form, in communities. I mean, you work in the government, you know how important it is for like abuse of power and all those things. But I met my wife at Easton as well, like and it was great. And I wish we could still, I wasn't her teacher or anything, but she was teaching intros, and I just took over the general manager. And that day I took over, we went on a date, and I think within the first week, and then we hit it off, and then the rest was history.
Yeah.
But again, like this happens a lot, and we have to tell people like, listen, if you don't, this is good. We may have to cut this, but I'm going to be honest here. I wish it could be this way, but we've had so much stuff in the community of jiu-jitsu with abuse of power where instructors sleep with students, and they do it over and over again. And it creates this, if like an instructor could date a student and they would get married and it's like true love, we like, cool, let's let it prosper. But because of the amount of time I've spent on the phone with legal matters and parents and people and just upset females or males, like they've been abused and or taken advantage of, we've had to create stuff that it may ruin potential relationships, but it's the only thing we can do to protect the community. And we have caveats like, hey, if you want to keep dating, you have to step down or this person has to quit. So like if you and I were in this situation, today, either we'd have to, either one of us would have to quit working, or one of us have to transfer schools to another Easton, or one of us have to step down as a coach. And that sucks because my wife and I we get along really well. It's a great relationship, and I know you and Junior do too. And we met in this thing that we love. Yeah. And now today, 20 years later, it can't be that way. And it sucks, even though it shouldn't have to be that way, but because of all the bad apples, it's majority usually bad and then good, which is crazy. We've had to create rules around this. We need a lot of flack around this. At least see how this goes when we release this. But yeah. All right, continue. Sorry.
No, that's fair. And that is where we met, and we were honest with the appropriate people. So, while we did kind of try to keep it out of the spotlight of the rest of the membership for those reasons you just described, we did, some key people were aware. But yeah, that's ours.
Then you got married. Then I got married.
Yeah.
It wasn't like I was using it. That's exactly. So that's the big thing. Like people will use it as their ground to find new females. They'll be predators.
Oh,
well, that's what happens.
Yeah. And, sometimes women are also looking for a partner.
Yeah, for sure. I'm just, I'm looking for the statistics that I'm aware of, just like.
Yeah. 100%.
So interesting. That's how you met Junior. That's great. Now you own an Easton together. So what got you into competing?
I was afraid of it, and I was lying to myself about it. So there were, other folks who were competing and doing well and traveling and just being amazing. Like Jen Perez is one who was a role model for me. And I was just scared. And so then it was like, okay, if I'm scared of this, then I have to figure this out. So that's how it got started. I don't love it. I still don't love it. I love what I learned from it, but every time it's work.
Yeah, it feels awful. I just competed this weekend. It's the first time in 10 years. And one thing that I recognized after my first match, I sat down and I was like, I fucking hate competing, and I've competed a lot over the years. And then I took
Yeah.
time off to have kids. And I was sitting there in the bullpen at the IBJJF Houston Open. And I was like, okay, Mike. And I've done a lot of mindfulness work and work on myself since I competed. So I was like, let's break this down. What is it that you hate? And so I sat there before my next match. I'm like, okay, what is it you hate? It's fucking really hard. Like it's really, really hard. Like getting out there and you're exhausted and this person's trying to beat your ass and you want to win and you want to quit the whole time. I'm like, okay, it's really hard. You don't like that. What else is it? What was the other part that was really hard for you, Mike? Think really hard about it. Oh, the pressure of thinking you need to win. It weighs on you. It makes you feel uncomfortable, like traveling out here, feeling nauseous and all that before you step on the mat. I really don't like that, And I was like, those are the two things. Okay, that's all bullshit. That's all fear. That's not like, I don't hate it like I hate this person because they, hurt my child. Right. No, I hate it because I don't like the feeling of pain and suffering. And I was like, all right, cool. Okay, so let's go win this next match. And I was like, that's not fear. That's bullshit. That's not hate. That's just fear. And there's a difference. And I think I had to understand the difference between the two.
Yeah. This is the other piece that I find so fascinating about it is that is what it provides, right? Like it provides you that opportunity to say, wait, what is really going on? What am I really experiencing? What am I, because I was asking myself the same question before Pans, because I've won Pans twice.
Yeah.
And then I lost first round. And then this last time I felt a lot of extra pressure. I injured my knee right before the tournament and kind of similar situation. It was like, what am I actually afraid of? And in my case, I'm afraid of looking bad, like looking stupid and feeling stupid. And what is that? Like, I can do that. Like, I'm gonna, no matter what, like I might as well accept that can happen. I don't like making mistakes. And so then I play cautiously and then I miss opportunities and kind of same idea. It's like, all right, I don't like how this feels, but feelings don't matter. As Elliot likes to remind us, like, just go get the job done. Right. Like, and then, and the first match is always the worst too.
Dude, it's awful.
It's hard. You're right about all those things. Like it is hard. And it's tiring.
It's just hard, man. Like being exhausted with somebody trying to beat you up that you don't know, you're like, ugh, get off me. Let's just fucking end this. Like in that moment where you quit in the match, I've had those, and they're like, no, don't quit. Come on, find it,
Yeah, or even before, I'll be like, okay, I'll be looking and I'll watch like whoever is, up first. And then I know I have to go. I'm like, well, if I win this one, I have another one. And if I win that one, I have another one. And it's like, no, like, and so my brain will already be like, well, how about you don't win this one? And then you don't have anymore. Like, nope, that's not where we're going today. Today, we're like, we got to fight. So
it's like, I didn't do all this just to lose and walk away. Like, at least it's over. Thank God. No, then I think how much I'll hate myself afterwards.
That's exactly right. It's like, how are you going to feel after? Because the regret from not having done all you could is so much worse than doing all you can and losing anyway, at least in my experience. Like,
no, I agree. The quitting for me. Like I have a 100-mile race coming up and it's the same thing, right? Like the quitting for me is only if if I get hurt bad enough where I won't be able to do anything for like a year or two. Like, otherwise it's not, there's no reason you're allowed to quit, and in all 3 matches this past weekend, like it's been 10 years. So it was a big experience for me. And I know you compete a lot, but every match I wanted to quit. I was like, all right, I'm done. And then like a minute left. I'm like, oh, come on. Okay. Just shoot, Mike. See what happens. Oh, you got the takedown. And then you lose it, then I'm losing again, and I'm like, I don't care. Then the guy made a mistake. I'm like, there's his back. Oh my God, a choke. Oh my God, I got a choke. Thinking I'm just going to get killed the whole time I go in thinking I'm going to lose, get my ass kicked. And I was. And then I'm like, oh, there's an opportunity. Just capitalize on that.
Nice.
So yeah, I feel quitting, I have to be, like, for me to be allowed to quit is only if it's going to incapacitate me for like a couple of years. There's no other reason I'm allowed to quit.
It's a good framework. And I think like quitting is interesting. Like, what does it look like? And do you know it? Like, cause for me, like I've had to recognize like, okay, that's my brain. It's trying to trick me because it's trying to protect me. And so like when I've had these decision points in matches, I had a lot of matches where I've been ahead, and then I just do something stupid, like not open my guard when I should and not keep it closed right. And, or, I should stall in guard and instead I try to get out and then I'm armbarred. Like, and I've been trying to figure out what was the information I had available to me? Why did I make that decision? Where is it? Cause it doesn't always, like, I feel like I expect quitting would be like, I'm tired, I'm not going to move anymore. And I don't experience that as much as, oh, this choice feels easier, I'll do that. And that's a kind of quitting, right? Like, instead of taking the hard, aggressive choice, which often is more correct for me anyway, I need to go more towards, like, I think, aggression and assertiveness. I'll just do, what feels easy in the moment and then regret it. So, yeah.
Man, that's so beautiful you brought that up. My kids, we were hiking this weekend, and I'm always trying to push them, where I can. And we were walking, and before we started the hike, like, we were going to hike Mount Sanitas in Boulder, which is a pretty steep hike for like a 4-year-old. And I was talking to them on the way up, where it's flat at the beginning, and we have to choose paths. I'm like, listen, one thing we're always going to do is we're going to look at both paths that are showing up to us, and we're always going to choose the hardest one, So I was like explaining that to them. So we get to the beginning, and there's two paths. One is this like nice slight road, and one is just it's dark and it's rocky and it's straight uphill. I'm like, all right, Calvin, which one are we choosing? The 7-year-old. He goes, the hard one. I'm like, that's right. And,
nice.
So we're we always try to find spots to instill some type of metaphors into our children or people that we're working with. And, that was a fun one from this weekend.
Yeah. But that's a perfect example. Like, choose the harder one, do the one that's going to make you better. Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. Cause you're not like, I've had experiences too where I'm like, oh, I just armbarred them. Okay, this is over. Great. But it's not always like that.
Yeah, that's that dive on the armbar. Oh, thank God it's over. And then you're like, that's such a nice victory. Do you think we kind of talked about how you feel about competing? Do you think everyone should compete?
I do. I think at least once. I think it just gives you so much information about yourself that if you're trying to grow, it certainly helps me improve in jiu-jitsu, because I'm like, oh, I'd never seen that before. I didn't know what to do. Or, oh, I keep making that mistake. Okay, let's keep trying to fix it. So I just think, why not? Like, do something. Like, it's scary. It's hard. Do it.
You're such a badass. Does it ever get less scary? Or less hard?
I had hoped it would. For me personally, it does not seem to. It gets more familiar, but I still have the physiological reaction where I feel like I have the flu. And then my brain starts talking and I have to phone a friend and say, hey, this is what I'm telling myself. And they're like, nope, that's your drunk neighbor. Don't listen to them. They're getting real loud, So yeah, but other people, they don't have nerves or it's fine. So I think it just depends.
I'm not that. Once I started, since I started wrestling at 15 and then competing since then, no matter how often I was doing it, every single time I felt terrible before.
Yeah. See, I think that's not uncommon. It's unfortunate, I think, because it's can't you get a break? Can't the experience do something? But yeah, it seems like that is actually pretty common. And I didn't grow up with individual competition experience. I played soccer, but stepping out on the mat by myself is a whole new
whole new ballgame when you have the spotlights on you. Exactly. The running races now is great because I jump, there's 100 to 500 people in the pack. You start running and there's people that can run way faster than anybody in the world. And then you have the slowest people in the world. And you're just somewhere in the middle of the pack and you are not in competition with anybody except towards the very end. There's a few stragglers that you're leapfrogging back and forth. Or there's that guy again. I don't want him to pass me. Or there's these 5 ladies that keep charging ahead of me and I can't catch them.
Yeah.
That's what my competition side gets in. But in the beginning, it's I don't know, just getting out there moving. And there's no nerves at all. Oh. It's just survival. Where jiu-jitsu is just all nerves, man. It's every freaking thing I can feel, I feel. Yeah. It's so
Yeah,
different.
it is. You're so fully alive. It is my experience, right? Like it just feels, it's just so much. It's so real. Even if it's a game, it's still a game.
It's
Like
still a game. It's all a game.
we're just playing a game, just going out to wrestle some ladies my age. Okay.
So I'd love to hear more. So you've been a black belt for how many years now?
It's gonna be 3 years in November.
Oh, you're gonna get that stripe soon. This means you're
I
getting
Isn't
older.
that crazy?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what is your journey been like? So you started the Denver favela, as we used to call it, and then the Easton Denver, the big one, and now you're at Lowry. What has it been like? Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah. It's been, I think it's been like a roller coaster. Like the progression is really interesting to me. I was not a good student. I don't take to this naturally. I have, been married literally into the school almost since, the beginning, which comes with other nuances. And so I'm mostly just really, really grateful of everything that I could learn. So like I felt like I was not a skilled white belt, although who would be, like, that's a hard place to be anyway. And then when I, finally felt like I figured things out around purple belt, then I hurt myself in soccer and had to come through the ACL recovery process. And, then there was COVID and, that was a whole experience. And then I got my brown belt on the podium. I wanted my black belt on the podium. I didn't do it. I got COVID right before Master Worlds and fought anyway. And then as a black belt, I feel like a white belt, but like with a little bit more skills. Like it's been really fun to just be in this experience. Cause you spend, I don't know how everybody else does it, but I spent my whole time wanting that black belt. Like, this is what I'm going to do. I'm not quitting till I get it. Even though like I said, I was not particularly skilled or talented. I was just going to keep working. And then I got it and I was like, oh, well, I'm here. Okay, now what? Well, I still don't have the skills I think I need. So I'm just going to keep working. So.
And that's all we do until we die. In a good way, I think. In a good way. Like I may not be able to keep getting better at jiu-jitsu, but like I'm going to keep improving at whatever I'm focusing on until I'm in my deathbed or falling off a cliff at some point.
If we are so fortunate, right?
Yeah.
Like that's the other thing is I've had the good fortune of being able to really spend time and put energy into this. And it has not been easy because I really like to do well and I really like to win, and that is not actually how you learn. And so I just keep relearning, like, nope, failure is good.
I like to win too.
Yeah.
I really like to win. I know failure's good, but man, it feels good to win.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I want to stay on the journey thing.
Yeah.
What have been some of the like most challenging things that you've experienced on the mat, like over the course of the past, I don't know how many years we're at now, 17 years or 10, 11, 12, 15 years?
Yeah, I think 15. I think I'm at 15 this year.
Yeah.
Which feels like a long time. I mean, probably name something, I've probably gone through it, like recovering from an injury, feeling not in the right place compared to my peer group, feeling frustrated by not learning fast enough, not, being a white belt and smaller and lighter and not having the skills that eventually would help me against, bigger opponents. Like, I don't know. It's just relationships, the community. Like so many people have entered and left. So many people have entered and stayed. We've lost a lot of folks throughout the years. But I've been thinking about that. Like it's a very rooted feeling, which I am very grateful for. Like you can grow with people. Like you and I started, I started just after you, and we've been in this together. And there's a whole crew of people. So that's pretty remarkable that you get to, kind of see this journey with other people, I guess is what's been important for me.
Do you have any stories like that you can think about in the past 15 years that stand out to you? Like, man, that was fucking hard. And like maybe something that people listening could learn from, whether it's an experience on the mat or, something jiu-jitsu related.
Yeah. Well, I mean, well, I have one I wanted to share. Which is more just why I'm so proud of our community and the work that we're able to do. Our head coach, I think he's our head youth coach, Joey, was giving the mat chat on Saturday to the families, and he was talking to the kids and the parents about, the message was confidence and how you stand with confidence and what you say to someone, to tell them to firmly stop something, and just to see the kids like come into their confident mode and say stop and have those skills. I got kind of choked up watching it because I just thought this is it. This is the thing that matters, that these kids can have these skills and work through this. In my personal journey, I mean, tearing my ACL off the mat, but then coming back and trying to learn jiu-jitsu all over again, and was a pretty huge moment. And so I encourage anyone who's going through an injury or having a hard time to reach out to somebody to figure out like how you can come back and what it means, because it does take a lot of work, but it's important and it's worth it. And then I've had moments where like no-gi is a big thing for me. For whatever reason, I just do not feel comfortable in the uniform. And I when I started jiu-jitsu, I did not feel comfortable with people touching me or touching other people. Like that's probably why I wasn't very good at it, because it requires contact.
A lot of contact.
As it happens, a lot of close contact. And I just couldn't. Like there were some positions I just couldn't do or wouldn't. And then no-gi, you're asking me to do that in a very stripped down, thin thing. And I really struggled to get past it. I don't know the root of it. I don't think it matters. Like the reality is this is what I go through. And so every time for no-gi class, I have to, I'm better now, but I would have to psych myself up to be like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do it. And then there was one time on the mats, I think it was a brown belt, and there was a position that I was not doing well. I was really struggling, and it was required close contact. And I just burst into tears and had to leave the mat. And it took a while to compose myself. And you can hear it in my voice now as I'm recalling it, right?
When was this? What belt were you?
I was a brown belt.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I hadn't done a lot of no-gi through all the other belts. I made it a commitment. It was like, okay, I'm scared of competing. I'm going to go compete. I'm scared of no-gi. I'm going to go do no-gi. Like it was just, one of the things that I didn't want to let stop me. And I had this moment, and, Elliot was the coach, and he has just been remarkable and amazing. And I went off, tried to figure my stuff out. I don't remember if I went back to class or not. But then that's, led to me eventually saying, okay, now I'm going to compete in no-gi. Like I'm going to do this thing. I'm going to combine the hard things, like make it double hard. And I did. And I lost my first no-gi match, I think at No-Gi Worlds by like an advantage or something, but I got a takedown. And it was, and then I just cried after. And then when I was thinking about it and trying to think through it, I would just keep crying. Clearly I'm a crier, but
you and me both, Amy, you and me both.
Another thing I like about you, because I'm like, oh, hello, fellow human. But yeah, so I think that's what's been so amazing is jiu-jitsu just gives you these opportunities to say, this is a hard thing. This is a scary thing. I'm going to try it. And maybe I fail, but I tried it. I'm going to be mad I failed. I'm going to be mad every time. So those are some of the tougher experiences. But, on the flip side, like I have friends who I would consider family from training all these years. And I've learned amazing things from the people that have been on the mat. And yeah, it's just such a gift to have that opportunity.
Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate the vulnerability there, as always. Any advice you have for people new to the sport, or advice you want to impart to like listeners?
Be ready to struggle and know that the struggle is what makes it valuable. Like that is where the learning is. That is where the growth is. That is the thing that makes it worth it. And if you don't struggle, more power to you. Share with me how you are doing this.
Yeah. Please tell us both.
Yeah, exactly. But I think that's the new, like I was a straight A student. I was used to getting, I'm used to doing well at work or succeeding in other things. And then I come into this space and I'm just terrible. And it's hard. And I did not have the skills to understand how to get through the terrible. So I had to get them as I was going. So that's the thing. I would say it's hard and it's amazing. So it's this combination.
Well, the hardest things I feel like are amazing,
Well, those are the things that are worth it. I don't want to scare people. Be like, do jujitsu. It sucks. It's more like, no, it's going to be hard. You're ready for it. You have what you need. It's going to be worth it. It's going to give you all these things. So.
Yeah. I read a lot of, or I used to read a lot of World War II books or war books, and especially personal memoirs. And I forget which one it was. Maybe My Helmet for a Pillow, or I think it's been said a bunch. Maybe it was Tim O'Brien who wrote the Vietnam one, The Things They Carry. But anyway, there's this pretty ongoing theme with them. It's when you're in the foxhole with the other military, during a battle or a firefight. It's I didn't respect the ones that would go in fearless, and what I respected was the ones that were scared shitless and did it anyway. And they're that's the definition of bravery. And that's what I was talking to my kids about, that same idea.
Right. That's it. It's not that you don't feel it. It's not that you're not afraid. It's about what you choose to do anyway. Right. And that's, I feel like jujitsu has, hopefully I'm growing up, but if I am, if I'm getting
you're around with adults in pajamas on a mat. So,
Yeah. But that's what's taught me how to, hopefully be a better human is, all these lessons.
Yeah, of course. So since you've been here since 2008, what have you seen change? What has changed at Easton, or even the jiu-jitsu community as a whole, or both?
Oh, so many things. I mean, the school itself, the number of locations, the structure, all the work you and the team have done to build this amazing business. It's so much bigger. It's broader. It's so much more, I guess I would say, maybe sophisticated in terms of, the processes and the people and the opportunities. That's been a massive change. And then the growth of jiu-jitsu, when I came in, there were maybe a couple other women. I don't think there was a black belt in the Denver school at the time, a brown belt maybe. And, now I can teach a class full of women with a fellow female black belt. That's wild to me.
Yeah.
So that's been super cool to see how it's just grown generally.
Why do you think it took so long to get female black belts? Do you think it's just because it was a smaller sport in the beginning, or do you think it just took time for the culture to shift? What is your thought?
Yeah, that is a good question. I think it's probably both. You needed the growth of it. You needed the growth of it overall, and then the growth that we've experienced in terms of, I think there was. I don't want to speak for you as the leadership team, but it seemed like there was an emphasis on, how do we make this place welcoming for women? How do we encourage them? And new members in general? I think there was a dedicated a dedicated focus on how do we make sure that members are having a good experience and they're staying. And, then when those members are women, what does that mean for their experience? So I think it's a combination of a concerted effort, as well as the jiu-jitsu community and culture growing itself. I mean, you can see so many amazing, and you always have been able to, but now there's just even more amazing female athletes that we can look up to in the sport itself.
Yeah. In sports in general, I feel like it's been really nice to see that shift.
Yeah. Women's basketball right now, right? It's huge.
I think so. I've thought about this quite a bit. I mean, I was raised with a single mom and a bunch of sisters. but also raised in a very like, Boston, hard ass machismo culture, and thinking about how to make that shift, but also like recognizing my background and recognizing like what I'm programmed and conditioned to understand about life and people and females and men and gender roles. And of course, that's taken a big in the way culture and the media portrays how we should be in the world. And I've thought a lot about personally about how to make that shift, but obviously the team has been a massive part of it. Like when Sachi Ainge was a part of the school, she was a huge help in helping. She was the first AOD, which is like the assistant general manager of a school. And she was like my right hand person, and we led that school together. And she taught me so much about like how to understand, I think, the human condition, like both sides, like really cool in that realm. There, we better edit this out. But what I was thinking about, like what shifted. I mean, there's a couple things I think when I think about it. Like the core values helped a lot. Creating core values, putting a line in the sand, and saying, "Yeah, we're not going to accept this bullshit anymore." And just watching everybody that couldn't handle those core values or couldn't stand up to them or live by them, either self-select or we select them out. I think that's made a huge piece in helping the population stick around, whether it's females or just making it more inclusive. And we're making something, Ian Lieberman always says this, I'm going to butcher the saying, but he's like, we're making something that is like intrinsically challenging, like no matter, it's extremely challenging, and we're trying to make it inclusive as possible. You know what I mean? And that's a really hard thing. Like we want you all to do it, but guess what? You're going to get on the mat and you're going to get fucked up right away. So it's not going to be easy. We're going to welcome everybody in, but this is still going to be miserable for you. So that part can't change. Yeah. I also think about the sport in general. Like it is a sport that's a combat sport that I think was catered towards men building it. And then you see on the outside, you look in, it's a bunch of sweaty men rolling around. I was like, I don't want to roll around with those gross dudes, especially if you have like a traumatic background, some trauma in your background. So there's a lot of obstacles to overcome. And we're a big believer in meritocracy, regardless of gender or race or whatever. We want to see whoever the best is to move to those positions. That's why competition is great. And I think because we have such a small sample size of females in the beginning, because it was so male driven, it's been so hard to find females because most of the men quit too. And if the same amount of females quit, if 5 females join and 100 males join, right? And the same percentage quit, we end up with 2 females and 20 males, or something like that. I'm messing up the percentages. I should have said 10 and 100. But so 10 females and 100 males join, 2 females stick around, 20 males stick around. And that compounds over time. You're going to see way more men in the sport. And it's been really cool with ladies in leadership at the black belt level, ladies running the company like Sarah and Van and Sachi and Alicia. And there's so many, right? Luma, there's so many, right? That like in Beth Huddleston, like I love just leading from the front. I'm missing plenty of names. Then on the Muay Thai side, we have like Allie Redman. I think it makes it like, oh, I can see myself in those individuals. So I can be part of this school because I see myself where I'm going to get to later on because they have mentors to look to. So I think it just takes time to get there. Even if it's a good community, we have to get females through the fucking brutality of all of it, just like it takes the men to get through the brutality of all of it. And now we're there, I think we're going to see a compounding growth in the female population. Like your class in Lowry, it has like 20 females in it. The school's 4 months old. And it's like, we've never had that many people in a class in general that's 4 months old. It's
I think it's a little bit lower at its biggest size, but it's been amazing that we have a consistent group. And for me in particular, I'm really excited that we have upper belts even that can be there. And then we have new folks too. So like the new folks can automatically see, oh, this is where I could get to. And then the upper belts can say, hey, new person, let me help you out. Let me show you. And then that gives them a chance to really realize what they've learned as well. So it's been pretty amazing. And I think that is the trick, right? Is we are trying to do something where we're saying this is a hard thing, but we want everybody to give it a shot, but just know that you can get through these hard times and it is possible. And I think, like for me as a as a woman, the first time I finally got mastered side control and somebody went, ugh, underneath my weight, I was like,
Yeah.
this is amazing.
They get off me.
Yeah, like I was so excited because I think, there are like, there's conditioning around how you should behave and how you should be and all these things. And so it's like, ooh, wait, I can be big and strong. Okay, like let me give this a shot. Like this feels pretty good. And it was a
I
whole
love
new
that.
experience. So
I love that you do that conditioning. That like you can shed it on the mat. Like if you let yourself get there, like shed it and let's just be people.
yeah, let's just see what we're capable of. I mean, that's like why I keep training. I just want to know, can I get better? Is there more stuff I can, what can I do? So
All right, we're gonna pivot a little bit. These are my more open questions. So, what does your life look like outside of Easton?
outside of Easton, I have a full-time job, and it's a new one. I just started about a month ago, and I have friends and family that I'm super close to, and they may or may not have anything to do with jiu-jitsu. So I kind of have, I'm in a couple different worlds, but yeah, I'm pretty, I'm taking care of my job, taking care of my relationships, taking care of Lowry, which is not outside of jiu-jitsu, but is obviously a huge part. So to the extent that, I need to be involved. So
We love having you there. Here's the next one. You can kind of frame. I can give you an example of how I frame it, but I'm going to offer to you first and see if you want to do it your own way.
okay.
So, what does your life look like at 65 years old? What is like the what is? It doesn't have to be like your whole life. I can give you a tighter example.
Yeah, tell me how you do it.
So the way I do it is like I got this. This is from a bunch of like philosophy books and Stoic books, but one of the ones that I really like are like I imagine what the end of my day looks like. So for me, it's like my dinner table, and I can like know who's there, who's with me, like what the room looks like, what time of year it is, what like I can smell the food, like I can. It's this moment, this picture of me sitting at this table and who's around me. That's what I look at. That's where I want to be and what I focus on. But it can be very different for you.
Wow, I love that. Yeah, it's funny with all my anxiety, I'm very future focused, but I don't actually envision a lot. So this is a challenging question. I think it's, me and Junior, and we are in whatever city we want to be in at the moment. And I don't know, maybe we're watching the sunset or we just got back from a walk, but we're healthy. We can connect with our family and friends whenever we want on our time. And we're able to, pursue what we want. So.
I see we're both holding back tears as we talk about this.
I know, I'm like, dang, Mike.
I know. It's hard for me. And yeah, when somebody else feels the same way I feel, I might like get more emotional.
Totally.
You know what I mean? Like I do this with other people that is like, oh, they spout it off, and I'm like, yeah, blah blah blah, and then yeah, I mirror that person. Here's another one for you. If there were 3 living people you could have dinner with, who would they be? They have to be alive.
3 living people that I could have dinner with.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. I feel like I'm not a very curious person right now because I don't have a ton of names coming to mind. Okay, I'll say this.
Some of these are tough, but I haven't thought about them.
Yeah, I don't put a lot of thought into that kind of thing.
Me neither. That's why I asked.
Yeah, I mean, when I'm reading a book or something like that, sometimes I'll be like, oh my gosh, who is that person? And, I want to know more about what they're doing. So I guess in that vein, I do think Lex Friedman would be super interesting.
Yes. 100%.
He's an interesting dude. Like he's talked to a ton of people. Like he's learned a bunch of things.
One of my favorite podcasters by far.
Yeah. Like I learn something every time I listen to him. And then I think I want to talk to someone from the jiu-jitsu world who like Leticia Ribeiro, who, you know, like has won all these things and raised up these amazing champions and run a school and just been in it from the beginning. And then my dad, like I need as much time with him as I can get. So
that's like any parent's dream would be to hear that.
he's an amazing dude. So
wow. Yeah, I
he's on
try
the
to
list.
parse it out into like categories too, like author, artist, or business person, political leader. Some ways to like make your life sports legend, you know, to categorize it, then sink it tighter.
Oh yeah, that's exactly. Yeah, that's because I mean, sports legend. Oh my gosh, there's I'd want to learn like what's your mindset? How are you doing this?
Yeah, how do you show up every day to be a champion like that and keep it together?
Yeah, like Katie Ledecky. Like, what are you talking about with your records? Like, how do you do that?
Would you rather be rich or would you rather be famous?
Rich.
Yeah, me too. Want to elaborate?
I mean, what does fame really get you in the end? But rich, I can do a lot with that. So.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. All right. This is similar to the 65 one, but this would be more like present day. What does a perfect day look like for you?
Okay. Well, I'd wake up in Spain or somewhere Mediterranean, I think. A perfect day is using my time how I want. So one day I'm going to get there. But coffee and breakfast with Junior, checking in on my people, like talking to all the people that matter to me, and being able to experience some kind of beautiful setting that's interesting, like a historic city or somewhere by the water or something like that. Meeting interesting people, speaking other languages, being engaged in some other experience where I find things that are interesting.
Is jiu-jitsu part of that experience for you, or doesn't have to be?
It doesn't have to be, but if it goes beyond one day, I'm going to need some jiu-jitsu. So yes, training like when I was doing brown belt pans, Junior and I went to Cabo right before, and we brought our gis and we trained in the fitness center of the hotel, and it was amazing. Like we had jiu-jitsu, we had water, like we had just an amazing time. And then I went to pans and I won, so I was super happy. So.
Oh my goodness. I love the amount of jiu-jitsu nerds. I spent the weekend with Derek McCracken, who's a purple belt and trains in Castle Rock. Amazing human being. Great competitor. And he trains 7 days a week. Never takes a day off. Just in a row. Always.
He's on that Goggins
Just
plan.
On it, dude. Just obsessed. It's so crazy. It's really interesting. Beautiful. All right. So a couple more things for you. And I think I gave you some heads up on these ones. What are your favorite books or books that you highly recommend that everybody should read? And then what are you currently reading?
Okay. Well, let's start with what I'm currently reading because that's easier. And I have stacks.
Me too.
This is on my nightstand, and this is on my nightstand.
I love it.
So yeah, I'm not good at getting through, everything, but I'm pretty excited about this one, Invisible Women, Data Bias in a World Designed for Men. A friend just recommended that to me. Clear Thinking is brilliant.
Shane Parrish. Knowledge Project is one of my favorite podcasts.
Oh, really? Okay, yeah, I'll have to give it a listen. And then I think everybody should read is Atomic Habits. So like I've done a lot of study of behavior change and, why do we do the things we do and decision making and all that stuff, and Atomic Habits and, trying to reach goals and everything. And Atomic Habits is one of the best compilations of all the things that you need to do and consider. So switching from what I'm currently reading, I'd say that's one everybody should read. I've got some novels in here. I mean, it's nonfiction. I've got a book in Portuguese that I picked up in Brazil that I haven't finished. Got a book in Spanish from, I haven't finished. So I'm a little behind.
I'm the same way. I have like 10 books I'm reading at once. Some I'll fly through. I have audio books I'm listening to as well. And I love James
Yeah.
Clear. I love
Yeah.
Shane Parrish. You're nailing some greats as far as like newer age thinkers in the business and sociology world. Yeah, I love them. Shane Parrish's podcast is fantastic.
Oh, nice. Okay.
I've started listening to it on runs because I do Lex Friedman's, but sometimes they're not the best for running. But Shane Parrish he puts a lot of great people on that I really enjoy. The way he podcasts. It's just he kind of like he asks a lot of questions and he stays quiet, so you have to learn from the viewer, the person talking, and the podcast is kind of quiet.
Yeah. I love that. I need to check him out. And I go in phases, right? Like sometimes I'm like, oh, I really want to learn about this thing. Like I Never Settle, I think, by Chris Voss. Like
Yeah.
try to learn a lot about negotiation, and I have.
Well, is that different than Never Split the Difference?
Oh no, I'm sorry. I think it's Never Split the Difference.
Or Don't Split the Difference. Something like that. Yeah, I've read that one a couple times.
There's one he read while he was in school that I picked up. This is the other thing, Mike, is I can't remember things anymore. I can't remember book titles, movie titles.
No, I'm the same. I just know these ones in particular because they're like forefront of my mind. They're like on my recent bookshelf. That's my recent bookshelf.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
The Coaching Habit, like that was a good one. It's pretty short. So yeah, it kind of depends on like, what am I trying to do? What am I trying to feed my brain in that moment?
Yeah. Coaching Habit it's free too so you can get it for free everywhere. And that one's a massively helpful one for hard conversations.
Yeah. Anything around kind of conflict resolution, communication, nonviolent communication is really good. I don't know if you've read that one. I haven't looked at
the
that
workbook
one
too.
While.
Yeah.
Huh?
I did the workbook as well.
Oh, nice. Yep. Yeah. It's been a while since I should probably revisit it.
I try to listen to that one occasionally as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you. That's a great one. I think, so we did the general managers and program directors, it's like in business world, it'd be like product versus operations kind of thing. But it's like martial arts. I shouldn't be versus, but it kind of is martial arts and operations. So one requirement we're going to do together as a team is read The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team by Patrick Mooney. He's done a bunch of great books, but that one is super helpful, I think, for understanding who you are in the dysfunctional team. So we're going to kind of all read that for the next quarter.
Yeah. That stuff I find endlessly fascinating. And the Enneagram, I don't know if you've done any work with that, but using that as a personality descriptor and kind of exploring that really helped me understand people and myself and figure out like, okay, oh, this is why this thing is, I find this thing annoying or upsetting, or I'm making assumptions about this person's behavior. And it wasn't a book, but I went through the city's process, like lean process training. Mm-hmm. And that was the most amazing thing in terms of learning like, oh, this is why people are doing what they're doing. Great. Does that get us to our goal or not? How do we, help make the process easy so they can do what they need to do?
It's massive. Yeah. I've been into like the multiple truths. Like, okay, your perspective can be true, but so can mine. So we don't need to be at odds with each other. We just need to understand each other, and then we can resolve each other. Because what so happens is like, this is my truth. I don't give a fuck about your truth. And it's like, hold on a second. Let's hold both truths. And if we can recognize that we're over here battling with why we're right, we can stop and be like, oh, he's not wrong either because this is his experience. Let's bring these together and solve the problem. And that's been like, because I'm a pretty passionate, angry, intense person. Like I want to win, but that gets me nowhere in relationships. So it's been like a really helpful tool for me of just that saying multiple truths exist. Multiple truths exist.
Yeah, we had an experience at my former work where they, there was an event, they did an investigation, they interviewed the people, and one person was saying, well, this is what happened. And the other person is saying, no, this is what happened. And they were both correct from the information they had and the lens they had.
Yeah.
That's something I struggle with too, is remembering like positive intent and, not just immediately going towards I have such a bias towards efficiency. It gets me in trouble. I can be real impatient. So trying to remember, like, everybody's just doing the best they can. They're probably doing a whole lot of work that I don't even see. And I'm, focused on one tiny error over here. Like, that's a drag for everybody. So
I'm the same way, Amy. Couples therapy is very helpful with that.
you have a couple what?
Couples therapy helps with that.
Oh.
My wife and I was like, why are you doing it this way? It is a tenth of a second faster if you do it this way. Obviously, objectively, look at this, So it doesn't make any sense.
Because I believe it. Yeah.
She's like, I don't give a fuck if it's 20 minutes faster or slower. I'm doing it this way, and I don't care what you say. I'm like, if you cared about me, you would care. It's like, it's a whole thing.
Yep. It's a whole thing. It is.
Okay, 2 more for you, and we can sign off. Do you have any feedback for me?
Feedback for you, like in what realm?
I don't know. You can say anything you want to me. I love feedback. Bad or good, mean, aggressive, kind. I don't really want it to be kind because I'll blush. So I'd rather you just say something mean about me, and I'll be like, I can accept that. Tell me more. Make it hurt.
No, I would say thank you. Like, you're probably one of the people that's doing all this work that I don't even see, but I get to benefit from. So thank you for all you've done. And B, I think, when you have folks who've been around in the organization for a long time, you have an opportunity to use their expertise if it's useful or not. And I think Easton has, because it's grown so much and been around for so long, like, we're really blessed with a lot of people with, lots of experience that can contribute. So,
yeah. Are you saying that I need to be reaching out more for individuals that can contribute? Or
no, I just think sometimes like Easton has a hierarchy, which makes a lot of sense. And I think sometimes there are folks with experience outside the hierarchy. And how you get their experience and use it, or if it's useful or not, is a challenge, but they're there.
Yeah, no, I agree. So what do you recommend is the best way to get them to help us with their experience? I think that's the way.
Yeah. Is this the don't just bring me a problem, bring me a solution?
Well, no, I love the feedback, but as soon as I get that, like, I'm very much like, okay, solution oriented. Like, if it was like, hey, Mike, you're an asshole and you got to stop yelling at people, I'm like, okay, I can do that.
Oh,
no, but I'm using, but this one's like, okay, that's good feedback, but I need to know, like,
how would you action it?
Yeah, exactly. Because part of the reasons for the launch of this podcast was to, like, introduce everybody to, like, me and the leadership, to know that we're not some people behind this curtain. We're human beings. Yeah. And then also, I used to send out anonymous feedback forms, like, hey, anything that I'm missing that I need to be aware of, go to all the staff, and nobody ever filled it out for like a year.
Yeah, I remember those.
So I was like, okay. And then we do these DH, PD, all the department heads will come together once a year, and we'll do a Topgolf thing and try to get their information, what they want. And it's, just any way we can get people to give us, I give out my email, my Voxer, like, how can I be more accessible, and what am I missing? And yeah, so I'm trying. I love that idea and that concept, and I'm curious if you have thoughts on how to
I think maybe
grab all that experience.
Yeah, like, maybe it's project based. Like, okay, we're gonna change a class, or we're gonna look at a curriculum. So who do we know that's been teaching for a long time? I'm obviously thinking of junior in this case, but it could be, somebody in another location. Or like, I know we've had people who have helped teach the staff how to do sales, even though they're not technically, like, in the company. They've done such an amazing job to help the staff. So I think you're already doing it. It's just a reminder, like, when you have a community this broad and you've got, folks, people who've worked with people who've experienced trauma before, like, as their staff education opportunity, things like that.
I love it. Well, this is important to me. So we don't have to go in detail here, but if offline, like, if you email or Vox, or you have any more ideas or specifics, I'm so open to it, because that's how we've changed the company. Like, that's where we found about, the operating system traction and Voxer, which helped us pivot through COVID, because we were able to make quick changes, how we found different, so many people came from like, hey, this is what I do, or attorneys that have helped us, or a lot of the safe sports stuff that we use for the kids and the background checks and the HR reps that help us out now have all come from people that we were part of the school or like had like kind of like you, a professional outside in a whole real world that we're not part of. This is, oh, try this. I'm like, ooh, yes, that's great. So open.
Yeah. So you're already doing that then.
Well, but there's always more, and I'm always open to more. Thank you for that. And last thing, for what in your life are you most grateful for?
Well, now I'm going to cry.
It's the way we end it. That's right.
Junior.
Yeah.
I don't know. He's really amazing, and he's taught me a lot. And I don't think I would have this growth without him. I mean, I hope I've grown. I'm trying. But yeah,
I think so many people would say that in this company if they even if they don't know Junior, like what he has done. Like he's like the most behind the scenes with the most integrity of any human being, like, and biggest heart of any human I've ever experienced. And I have multitude of stories to explain that. But just a truly good soul. And you're lucky to have each other. So I appreciate that. Thank you, Amy. I appreciate you.
Mike, I'm so happy to talk to you. Thank you. I really appreciate this.
We only cried 3 times.
Shit. All right. Well, edit out, what doesn't work and what,